So today it's all about staying in the ring. So just go and hope he has a positive experience. It's all about getting the miles. Good boy. So this is Emit's first show, and like I said before, the biggest thing is getting the education for him. I was pretty happy with how he was in the ring for the most part. When he gets tense, his whole body gets stiff and it feels like you're riding a 2x4. And I guess where he felt that the most was doing the transitions to the canter, and he just would get a little worried, a little distracted, and then he'd pick up the canter and he would do it. And really for his first test at a show that had a lot of things kind of going on, I was really quite pleased with him. We stayed in the ring, which was you're always your first goal, and he was able to walk, and he did all the things in the dressage test. But here, like, we would want a bigger over track and a longer stretch to the bridle, but that will come with experience and relaxation. And for the most part, he stayed pretty steady in his frame. He gets a little crooked, but that's with any young horse. You're always striving for straightness. And there he whinnied twice. And when that happens, you just ignore it. Just keep going forward is kind of the mindset. And again, you can see he kind of was distracted for the transition, but overall, it was a pretty decent test for his first one, and it will be fun to see him kind of improve as he gains more education. He was a really good boy and was straight down the center line and really listened for his halt, so I was happy with him for the day there. You did good! Like, that was really hard, guys. Took a lot of focus for a baby. Things might eat a Mustang out here. We got people, scary black things. The ground is different colors. Horses are in cages. All kinds of scary stuff. Cute. And for Indy, this is the third time he's been out to a show, and he had some still baby moments, as you could see there. He was afraid of the judge when we were coming in, and so it was a spook. He's still learning how to listen to me and get his relaxation through the cues and my aids, and he's so funny because he walks pretty nicely, although he was felt like a wet noodle where he got pretty wiggly. But for him, the biggest thing is just gaining the confidence and coming through his body in relaxation. He when he gets tight, he moves up and down in his front legs. But all the ingredients are there. Again, it takes miles, and sometimes horses move at not the pace you would like them to, but at their own pace. So I was happy with how he handled himself in the warm-up. There were some distractions with other horses that were wearing blankets and walking around in leaves and screaming. So he's still learning how to keep his little mind in the arena, and every now and then has a bit of a moment, but he comes back to work, and that's what we have to work on building on, is making the good moments last longer. So he was a good boy in there.
So it's just one horse after another today.
It is. Always. You wouldn't turn down the center line, and he's like, no.
Well, yeah, and I'm just like, it's a schooling show, so I'm just like, nope, we are going to learn. I don't care. We will sit here all day if I have to. And then he was like, oh, I'm good now. He just gets so distracted still. Just miles and miles, I know. You're kind of good. Yeah, like, yeah, like, I think for this schooling show, I was the most proud of Henry. He really has grown since the last time I took him out. As far as the rideability that I had, he really was listening, and finally started to feel like I had a half halt, and he was steady and wasn't dropping in. He tends to drop his right shoulder pretty good, but overall, like, as far as how he was handling himself in the warm-up area and going around the arena, he's starting to get pretty professional about going to work, which was just such a nice feeling. And again, he's a little similar to Indy, where he can move up and down in the trot work when he gets tight. He's still tight, so that's the biggest thing with the off-the-track thoroughbreds, is teaching them to let go and to swing through their body. He has one of the nicest canters I think I've sat on a off-the-track thoroughbred. And again, he's just coming through and listening to my half halts, and our transitions were so much better. He was going through the corners so much better. This is the fun part of developing the young horses, is when you have those little success moments. He still has a long way to go, but this has been a huge improvement from where he came from. So in the second part, I think that was the most bracy he was coming into that last transition off of the right lead, which is his weaker lead. And he wasn't running through my hand, and he was trying to listen to my seat, so I was just super proud of him. Very happy with him. He tried so hard. He did so good. Are you figuring out the game, buddy? So good. Yes, you did. So Johnny was wild. He was really full of himself, and which is pretty typical. It's very much his usual for when he starts back into competition, which is why I thought this would be a good show for him to go to. Just able to get him out so he can start to relax. And we did an easy test, the prelim test, but sometimes that can be a little bit more difficult because he's such an intelligent horse, and he tends to like to do the harder things. As you can see, I'm trying to do a counter bend just to help me have just a little bit more control. He really does well when I'm able to do a lot of prep work before my dressage test. So he gets a couple of light canters, and then I do some lunging just to really get him loose and relaxed. And it really does take a lot of work to have him prepared in order for him to be rideable for his dressage test. But we did it. We went through the motions, so that's all that mattered. This is the beginning. And then that's why all the hard work pays off, and then he looks all nice and pretty dressage horse. This is Emit's little show jump round, and he was quite funny because for these jumps are pretty basic, but he was quite insecure about them, especially these barrels. But the key with the young horses is just to try to stay positive and keep your hands going forward and directing them and trying to keep their nose going straight towards the fence. And he ended up jumping around and gained some good experience. And so with Indy, he's still learning to gain his confidence as well. So of course, right here going past the gate, he got a little sticky, and then coming to those scary barrels, he wasn't sure, but when I asked him to, he went, and that's all that really matters. He unfortunately knocked that rail, but it's about the experience. So I was happy with how he started to figure it out and soften near the end, and he started to use his body. So overall, I was quite pleased with how he was for this weekend, and it was a good educational experience for him just to go and see something different. Next was Henry, and again, he always tries super hard for me. He overjumped the first jump by like a mile, and then again over the second one, and they're so funny because these jumps for them are pretty basic, and they've seen scarier ones, but they were kind of lurching. But even though he's not sure, he's still pretty tidy, and he doesn't want to touch the jump, which I find is a very nice characteristic to have. Making sure that he doesn't want to touch them. It's a nice quality to have in a event horse for sure. And then finally he started to settle, and again, this is a big improvement from the last show jump round he did. He wasn't building in speed like he had done before. He kind of fought me a little bit in that turn, but overall I was really happy with how he did this weekend. And then jumped Johnny around, and it was just a really nice show jump school just to get him and have him in a ring. And he stayed nice and soft and was jumping nice and round for me. So I was pretty pleased with how he felt, especially since the show jumping phase can be a bit of weakness for us. And again, this is just the beginning of the season, so it was just important to get him out. And he felt like a different horse the second time I pulled him out of the trailer for this round. So he very much is a horse that has a lot of work ethic, and he definitely keeps me on my toes and fit for sure. But I was really happy with how he listened to me in this round. Again, he's staying pretty nice and soft. And the goal was just to have him relaxed over his back and just pop around over the fences. And here, coming up to this little oxer, I kind of had to adjust him a little bit. He likes to drop his shoulder, so I just kind of flexed him left and right to get his attention, to help keep him straight. And he pinged right through that little triple. And then we just made the inside turn to the last fence. And overall, it was a really good weekend. All the horses gained the experience they needed, or like Johnny, just knocking off a little bit of rust.
End on a good note.
She's so happy. Yes, I know. She's like, pose. To pose. Oh,